Hello, it's that time of the season when Sean is to be jolly and everybody else is sitting there just wondering when is the normal everyday football going to return. Not yet, but it will be at some point on the other side of this. So, good evening. Hey, bonjour, hola, hello. We are here. Yes, I did do that. I've been Googling whilst I was waiting for people to turn up, and it turned out I was in the wrong room. So, how about that? What a host. What a guy. So, lots and lots to talk about this evening. So many places to start. Connor is already in the chat talking about feeling Brazilian this weekend with both the men's and the women's football, whereas Tony's banned national team football. Do you know what I will say in Sean's defence on this one, I think, is that what women's international football does for me is it really re-energizes me. It's a little bit like a battery recharger, I find, because it does kind of just pull me back into it just that little bit more. I mean, I found myself watching the friendly the other night and quite enjoying it still, even though it was just a friendly. So, you know, I do think there is a bit to be said for international football. But yes, I am very much looking forward to the return of the WSL and its outer lying leagues. Liberty, help me before I dig my hole any further there, trying to think of big and important words on a Monday when I've not been to school all day. How are you? Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I would like to say I have two things to say. One I've just thought of and one I've been thinking of since you messaged me to come on earlier. First, notice that Loren and Alex Greenwood handshake in the intro card were through the letter. Very impressive. I really like that.
Thank you.
I'm imagining that was on purpose, but
It
I
was.
did. I was very much a fan of that one. Very well done.
You can have a look at it again if you like. Look at this. It's a moment. I've never been mentioned on that. Yes, I did. Been watching a few tutorials there. So yes, that was grand.
I very much like that. Two, I have a question for you both that I've been thinking about over the past 24 hours or so, a bit more than that now. Yesterday, Arsenal men, sorry to bring up men's football really quickly. Arsenal men had some special guests at the Emirates for their game. They had John Bon Jovi, there we go, got there eventually, of musical fame.
You were halfway there.
It's really hard to say with enthusiasm and like oomph. John Bon Jovi and Paige Beckers. Oh my goodness, this could be one of those nights where I'm not going to be of basketball fame at the game. So I was wondering if either of you have a really random person from outside of football that you'd like to come to either a Brighton or a United game. Let's go women's game purely for the fact of we're here. Just anyone you fancy.
I mean, I've never got over the fact that Michael Jackson went to Fulham. That is all, and then they built a statue of him that looked nothing like him and stuck it outside of that. That was just wild. But go on, Sean, you go first. Anybody random you'd like to turn up?
Who's the most random person I could think of? That would be a laugh. And you know what? I've never thought about this. I haven't thought about this woman for years. I don't know where she's gone. But I thought, you know what? She's the first one, and it would be a laugh. Very much kin to Jacko at Fulham. I'd like to take Angela Merkel to a game. Why not?
Wow.
Why not? I've not thought about it. I don't know why she popped into my head, but let's go Merkel.
Angela Merkel.
Why not? That's random. There you go.
That's that. Amazing. That is amazing, Connor. Enjoying whatever I said there that he really enjoyed. He wants to see me at United Women's game. You never know. It could happen. That statue is bad. I see what you did there. Well done. Could we get Taylor Swift in? Well, I mean, that would be, imagine that's got to be up there with Jackson at Fulham. Like, what's Taylor Swift doing at the Progress with Unity Sports Stadium? Whatever else I want to call it. She can make a song about it. So I don't, but if you were going like super duper random, how about Gail Platt from Corrie?
Shout. That's a shout.
That'd be a giggle. Who would you have?
I actually haven't thought about it myself.
No,
Right,
so-
I would selfishly like somebody that I once liked. So, like, let me think of when I was like a bit younger. I was really into One Direction, so maybe like Harry Styles down at Meadow Park, Champions League game. Harry Styles down at Meadow Park, or who else?
This is it. I think the place matters. Like,
Yeah,
having
it
Taylor
needs to be
Swift
really
walking into
random.
Old Trafford is nothing, but Taylor Swift walking into the middle of LSV,
Sorry,
having just walked into
sorry.
Morrison's.
Can you imagine
is not.
Merkel down at Crawley?
Exactly.
Crawley makes sense.
Exactly. I've said that already.
You're down.
Daniel said 5.
Well, I mean, I think this is the same Daniel that was talking about 5 last week.
Okay, on the same vein of 5, maybe Gary Barlow at St Helens for a Liverpool game.
Oof.
Sean didn't like that one. that didn't agree with
I
Sean.
would take that, but he bore the life out of me, Barlow, with that same monotone voice. There's not much fun with Barlow, I feel.
Well, I don't know. They'd be sitting there watching the guy. That's absolutely fantastic.
It's not a bad impression, that.
And then he give it a little clap like that.
Found you calling.
Well, if we're going down that, then can we have the Spice Girls now at LSV? That would be my next.
Yeah.
That's too mainstream.
Mate, I'd be all over that.
Come on.
They're the only band I've watched more than once in concert. Willingly.
Willingly.
So there we go. Oh, hello. What's this? It's been a while. I'm busy. I've been working at a football club. It's not like I'm just sat at home picking my nose and thinking of nothing else to do. So yeah, there we go. Well, that was an entertaining start. You can do that more all the Saturdays. The Saturdays on a Sunday as well. Oh, people's minds would be blown, but they would be available. You would hope. So there we go. I just can't get enough of that. So honestly, there's so many in this opening segment. That's unreal. But there we are. Very, very good. Oh, Madonna or Britney Spears at St Helens. I mean, I don't know about Britney Spears. She's been through enough. But Madonna, yeah, absolutely. Sean liked that one. It made him smile. He's like, yeah, all right, we'll have that. But speaking of having been through enough, shall we? Yeah, finally bring it around to football. I love that, by the way. Liberty, more of that, please, next week. That was very, very good. A good opening salvo for us all. But we need to have a chat about the international games, and we will start with the England one just purely because of the fact that there was the big write-in first and it just gets it out of the way. But it was interesting because really this international break is for the Nations League in terms of UEFA. Obviously, there's a lot more going on outside of just Europe, but that's the main reason why we've got it. So they fill it up with some very interesting games. I've been quite impressed actually with some of the ideas that England have come up with in terms of trying to get a bit more out of their friendlies rather than it just being any old team not really too fussed about who it is. And bringing in Brazil was an interesting one. Talk to me a little bit, Liberty, about what you thought about the idea first of all of bringing Brazil, because I put friendly, it was anything but. Like this was genuinely, it was like watching something out of Spartacus. They were just going at each other in manners that I've not seen since Roman gladiator days.
Yeah, it almost had a very similar feeling to that Finalissima in 2020. Well, 2023 was like in March time, wasn't it? As in, I thought that there was like something on the line at the Etihad. It was quite intense, but I think that is what happens when you have genuinely two of the best teams in the world going against each other. I think even in a friendly, both are coming. This is their first game after winning their respective trophies this summer, both in quite dramatic fashion. When you actually look at how both tournaments panned out for both teams, so this is both teams really want to go into this game, despite it having the title friendly, with something to prove that they didn't just go to their tournaments, win, and then actually it was almost for nothing. They want to keep that momentum up, and if anything, Brazil did it better. They kept the momentum up better, despite having no Marta, Raffaelli didn't start, and they go down to 10, and it's the captain that gets sent off. So in all honesty, I think that this is sort of what we need from international friendlies, because otherwise they're quite boring. For me personally, if there's nothing really on the line at points, it's like we're just playing a game for the sake of it because FIFA have told us this is an international break and we have to play a certain amount of games. So for it to have this sort of higher stakes without anything actually on the line was really enjoyable for me. And also it's two countries that don't necessarily face each other a lot. Obviously you have World Cups and you have Olympics, but those are on a 4-year cycle. So you have to have these friendlies to be able to play against this opposition, two quite contrasting styles, in my opinion. So it was really interesting to see how that played out, as well as the idea of keeping up the momentum from each individual tournament going forward.
I think it was, again, very interesting. A good point you make there about the World Cup as well, because even the qualification is still regionalised effectively until you get to the actual competition. So to have the opportunity to play against Brazil there, I think is, a very good idea. But of course, there is talk about the players. We're going to come to Sean and talk about that in just a minute. But Daniel's really got into the idea of Britney Spears at Liverpool and has actually come up with the lyrics to the song Sometimes, which is very good there. And has finished it off. I love it. Brilliant, Daniel. Love the creativity, pal. Keep it coming. So, Sean, we have to ask you this question. Well, we don't have to, but we're going to. Because I feel like you are ideally placed to answer this question. And May Le Tissier was given a start. And I feel like this goes in well, because if I just talked to you about England, it could be a very slippery slope. But if I ask you about England, talking about May Le Tissier, this could be quite an interesting question, because obviously there's been a lot of fanfare about whereabouts she should play. She spent most of her time at Brighton playing at right back. She has spent all of her time at Manchester United, bar one game, playing at centre back. Sarina Wiegman thinks she should be a right back, then puts her in the game as a right back. So, a couple of questions. One, how do you think she did? Two, has Sarina Wiegman lost the plot entirely by saying that she can only fit there as a right back, especially when you look at what that back four was? I am not convinced that you can tell me that both of those centre backs were a better option than May Le Tissier at the centre back option. We'll start with those two. There we go. So throw those two questions at you. What do you reckon?
Number one, I can't tell you how she did, quite frankly, because I didn't watch. Because this happened about an hour or so after Wales finished against Australia, which happened on the same day, and it took me 2 hours to do press after the game. And then I went to the pub and I got really pissed. So I only saw the results, and I'll be honest, I did laugh. It was quite funny. The only explanation I have thought, because I thought, right, she's won 3 European Championships back to back and got to a World Cup final. So Sarina Wiegman clearly knows what she's doing. The only reasonable thing I could think of when she's coming up against Brazil, a lot of them play in America and have that similar, like America's style. Did she think Carter and Esme Morgan, because they play in the NWSL, maybe more used to the speed and the abilities of the Brazilian players. That's the only bit I can really think of. If not, I think it's quite silly again. Not having Maya Letizia, it's not Maya, is it? It's Maya Letizia, not at centre-back, it is silly. Like, come on. I think she is the best centre-back in the WSL and has been for a little while. But just on the friendly, because obviously I didn't see it, but I did see the result. But you know what I did see? Whinging England fans. Oh, our poor players. Oh, they're getting kicked. Oh, someone needs to tell them it's a friendly. Bore off. Come on. What you don't understand is these South American teams, like it's the same in club football in South America as it is in international football. Whenever they come up against a European side, they want it. Because Europe is seen as this mecca of football by those on the outside. Football in South America is life. This means so, and they have look at the players they've produced over the years, both men and women. It's insane. So to think that they're not going to come over and give it easy. No, they want to show the world exactly right. We're better than all these European sides. I think Brazil did that. So I'm fed up with this sort of women's game. Oh, it needs to be nicer, blah, blah, blah. And when someone gets injured, we can't have tackles like that, blah, blah, blah. It's a contact sport. Like, come off it, okay? Don't you give me that. Because I guarantee it, when Chloe Kelly held the neck of whatever Brazilian player, everyone's like, oh, that's quite funny, isn't it? Ha, ha, ha. But then when a Brazilian player commits a foul, there's a problem. Come on, people. Let's get a bit of a grip here. But overall, didn't lose the game. England lost. England fan needs to get a grip.
There you go. Well, he did answer the question within there somewhere by saying that Maya Letizia is the best centre-back in the WSL. So there we go. That was very nice of him to say so. Liberty, I've got a similar question for you. You obviously did watch the game, and it was very interesting to hear how you think the team played, not just Maya. But I'm going to turn into one of those whingy England fans, probably that Sean was talking about there. I'm not convinced, but then actually, having said that, I think he's also going to have to agree with me on this one, based on what he just said about it being a contact sport. I'm not convinced that Maya Letizier's challenge was a yellow card, because it wasn't a challenge. She's got the ball, clearly. The ball has come out of her control, but she's run towards it. She's clearly going to get there first, and the Brazilian players run into her. Now, I don't know. Is the game just going just a little bit too soft there? Because, yes, the foot was high, but what's she meant to do with it? You're moving at speed along the floor. I don't know. I just thought, fair play to the ref, by the way. I thought she was brilliant. She was taking no nonsense. She just didn't care. People could whinge at her as much as they liked, but she was like, no, that's what I've decided. Get on with it. So, yeah, what did you make of both the performances of some of the players? Because there was a bit of a change around in personnel from Sarina, and also a bit about the sort of the challenges that were going in. It's not necessarily about whether it be England or Brazil, because there was, a bit of both. For example, I saw Chloe Kelly smacked Tarsian on the arm quite hard, actually. I think she was going for the ball, but it didn't look great. So what do you reckon?
Right. Let's say challenge card situation. Let's start there. I think it's given as a yellow card purely because her foot is so upright. That is my only issue with the entire thing. I think, yes, 100% she gets the ball first. She's absolutely in the right to be going for that, like that whole sequence, as in getting the ball first, and then it's unfortunate that it's almost consequence of that because of kind of what happens. And also, she's already on the floor at that point because she's gone for the ball in that way. However, for me personally, absolutely no issue except for her foot is high and also completely upright. And I think personally, at that point, I think maybe her foot should either like this is Maya Letizier's foot. Her foot in the challenge is upright like this. I think potentially if it was further down, almost like in line with the rest of her foot, it's potentially not given as a yellow card.
But are we forgetting what a role physics plays in the world? Like it's so. I think this is what telly's done to us now, is that we can look at something, and I'm very guilty of this as a very inflexible 43-year-old man, because I watch a lot of things and I go, I could do that, and I can't
Yeah.
do that, and I try really hard, and it's so easy for us to think, well, if we're sliding along the floor, of course we do that with our foot. But number one,
Yeah.
it's like that it happens, and number two, she's on the floor, she's on her back, so it's like.
I think
By all
I'm
means, you can give it as a foul. I don't think it was a yellow.
Yeah, I think I'm nitpicking it purely because I'm trying to see why it's given, less so than I think it is right or wrong. I think that's why, and I think potentially, yeah, if it was sort of less, that's flexed. If it's more straight, maybe it's not given. However, I also think sometimes refs think if they've given too much away in a game, they have to at some point feel the need to draw the line, and that's quite late on. It was like in the 80th. It's quite late on in the game, so I think at that point she's like, oh, I've got to do something because else I'm going to look like the bad guy. And I think sometimes refs fall into that where they then give cards in silly places. Rather than it is a card. Oh my goodness, I've given too much away before now, so I've got to give one now. I think also sometimes refereeing, we say all the time refereeing in women's football is not up to standard, but also refereeing in all of football is not up to standard. So I think potentially sometimes I think we need to all just go back to the basics a little bit and sort of kind of just get over it a little bit. So
was it a red?
Oh no, I don't think it's a red, and I think people saying it's a red is a bit silly. But I've also seen people say that Amanda Illerstedt's challenge on Salma Paruelo, where she doesn't even touch her, is a card or a penalty or whatever, and like they're saying that Illerstedt is complicit in Paruelo's now being injured, but Paruelo's jumped half a foot in the air and landed awkwardly because she's not even touched her. And I get, like, if you've put, I'm sorry, this is more of a rant about Twitter fans. If you have posted the video in slow-mo, you've clearly watched it, and you've still said that a player has touched another player or is complicit, she knows what she's doing, she's experienced enough not to do that. Amanda Illerstedt doesn't touch her. I'm so sorry to tell you this. Amanda Illerstedt does not touch Paruelo. She goes for the ball, and Paruelo jumps over her. There is not much gap between them, but Amanda does not touch Paruelo. Paruelo jumps, then lands awkwardly because she's leapt half a foot in the air. And we see this all the time with Barcelona players specifically. They do this. Patry did it to Michelle Adjaman in the final of the Euros, where Michelle did not have anywhere near as much contact as the reaction needed. And I'm just really sick of these fans on Twitter being like, this is wrong, they know what they're doing, they're wrong, blah, 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 blah. Because, like, actually, you've posted the video and the evidence says completely differently. Please get over your own bias and actually look at football somewhat, like, not neutrally, but, like, with some sense. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a rant. I don't think it's a red card on Letitia at all, and I think if that's given as a red card, we have lost touch. In general, on her performance, because I'm trying to get back to the point that you asked me, I don't think it was her best performance ever, but also she's played centre back every single game for forever, because she played like every single game for United since she joined or something along those lines. And other than that first game, she's played at centre back. So I think it's going to take some adjustment, and also it's very, very clear, and I've seen other people say this as well. Serena Wiegmann is so wanting for anyone who plays at right back to be Lucy Bronze, even if they aren't Lucy Bronze. And it was very clear to me that she has basically tried to instruct Laetitia in the same way that she would Lucy Bronze and is expecting the same outcome that you'd get with Bronze. And you're not going to get that because they are two very different players. That is not a bad thing that they're two different players, because if we just had two clones of Lucy Bronze, we'd be questioning science purely for how much she's done for the game and how talented she is and stuff. But I think that is actually a downfall of Serena and her teams for just trying to get whoever's going to play it right back going forward, because Lucy Bronze isn't going to play forever, to be Lucy Bronze. That is not going to work. And it's the same, I think, actually, this is my criticism of Serena in general. No matter who's in her starting 11 or as her sub, she wants them to play like her version of what she wants those starters to be. I think she wants centre-backs to play as if they're Leah Williamson and Millie Bright and or Alex Greenwood. She wants right-back to be Lucy Bronze. She wants whoever's in midfield to be like... Honestly, she wants it to be like Euros 22. She wants whoever's in the 10 to be Fran Kirby. She's lucky that she's still got Kira Walsh and Stanway. I thought I got the names mixed up for a second there. Because she doesn't have to try and force anyone to play like them. However, in the World Cup in 2023, she tried to make Katie Zellum be Kira Walsh, and I was like, what are we doing here? And I think that is a really, really bad thing on her behalf, because that's not possible. You don't have 1,000 copies of the same players. You need to be able to adapt. And I think genuinely, I'm not one to like question somebody who's won 3 back to back Euros, because clearly she's talented at her job, but you just aren't going to have the same players forever. And you sometimes have to realize that you have to give a bit and work with the players at hand, because you aren't going to have Lucy Bronze forever. You don't have Millie Bright anymore. You're not going to have Kira Walsh forever. Like stuff like that. On Kira Walsh and Georgia Stanway specifically, please, somebody give them some rest. Like, I think they're both very talented. I think they're both exhausted. And if they play in the Australia game, I'm really sorry. What is the point of literally calling up any other midfielder for England at this point? Especially someone like Laura Blinkilde-Brown, who's had a really good start to the season with City. What is the point of calling her up if you're just going to play Walsh and Stanway again, which is the same double pivot you've played? Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Sorry, guys. That you've played since you came into this team. That both of them aren't going to be here forever, and we don't know the future. We cannot predict the future. Nothing is going to tell us that they are going to be fit and ready for the World Cup in 27 in Brazil. Because for all we know, they could get injured 2 weeks before and they cannot play a minute. What do you do then? Because you've not tried anyone else, as far as I'm concerned.
Probably Laetitia in there.
No, but it goes across the board. And I'm just choosing those two as an example because I thought they were quite poor on Saturday. Same argument with Russo. Russo's bloody tired. Excuse me my language. She is so tired. She plays every minute for Arsenal for absolutely no reason. And she then plays every minute for England for no reason. Why? These friendlies, there is nothing, literally nothing on the line. And I realised that it's Brazil, it's the first game after the years. As I said before, you're trying to have this like big this whole coming home thing that they're trying to do with the advertisement. I get that. However, these players, most of your starting 11, if Serena Wiegmann got her way in her starting 11, most of them are playing Champions League, and then after Christmas they'll be playing cup football, FA Cup. They'll be playing a lot of football.
But in fairness, if a friendly's going to make any sense, you have to play some of the newbies with some of the players that normally play there. Otherwise, you're not going to get a full...
Yeah, but I get that. You have to have some level of what is your like preferred and what is new. But having a double pivot that's been the same for 4 years, is ridiculous in my eyes. And if it's really obvious both are completely exhausted and we're in October, nearly November, then I'm concerned by what they're going to look like when we have qualifiers come World Cup qualifiers next year. Yeah, when the games actually mean something, are they going to be able to play? Because at this point, it's October and they're both exhausted already. I'm just like, I also think it's not just on Serena; it's also on Sonia Bonpastor and Bakala at Bayern Munich. I don't think I've pronounced his name right. I'm really sorry, but I was not prepared to say his name today. To also rotate their squads and rest players, because both have decent enough squad depth to rest players like Stanway and Walsh, and it's also Russo can be rested. It's across the board. I'm just saying those two players because that was where my brain was at. Did I miss anything? Sorry,
No, you're fine. I do have a quick fire answer for you. Was it a red card for Brazil?
I believe it's given as a professional last man foul, and
last player. Yeah, there's
yeah,
no
then I
argument
think
there.
yeah, I've not got an issue with that being a red. Anything of it's a goal scoring opportunity is I don't think that is it, but because of those are the rules of professional last man foul, then I can't have a foot to stand on because it's the edge of the box, and she is the last man. So yeah, I haven't got an issue with that
one.
Two things. Firstly, red cards in friendly shouldn't be a thing. I put that out there. Secondly, only because Liberty mentioned World Cup qualifying, I find this interesting because obviously as a Wales fan, I've got to find out how my team are going to get there because we're not going to be as good as everyone else. When you're in League A of the Nations League, this coming up, because Nations League acts as World Cup qualifiers every time, same with Euros qualifiers. In League A, the only way you are guaranteed your place at the World Cup next year in 2027 is if you win your group. Top two do not qualify. So because England have not won the Nations League group, they are guaranteed to face one of France, Germany, Spain, or Sweden twice. And then you're looking at another bunch of teams like you've got your Norways, you've got your Italy, you've got Denmark, you've got. What I'm going to say is, World Cup qualification is not going to be easy. And if you don't win your group, you're in the playoffs. And I know how stressful and horrible that is. So it's not a guarantee England are going to breeze their way to a World Cup. And that's really sad. I really don't want to say that. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not going to be a doddle.
No, well, I'm not thinking anyone's going to expect that international football is a doddle. But it will be very interesting to see how that gets on. Final question on this, Liberty, for you was simply this. If Brazil hadn't got the red card, did you see England coming back into it? Because I think whilst it was 11v11, Brazil were effectively, just mutilating England. It looked like they were just cutting through them at will.
Yeah, I think obviously in a game there will be points where a team backs off a bit or isn't as intense, and maybe that's when you go, okay, that's when England could have got at them. But I do think that pure trajectory of what we saw with 11v11, it was Brazil's game. And even when they did go down to 10, I still thought they played their football. They were still true to themselves and didn't really. So when a team goes down to 10, they usually will just be quite defensive. I didn't really think that of Brazil. I think they were still quite sure in themselves. I think we, as people from this side of the pond, as such, don't particularly give Brazilians the credit they deserve, purely because our immediate interaction with football is the WSL. That is what we see the most of, and we only have at this point one Brazilian, and she didn't play. She's injured at the moment. In Carolyn, and also other Brazilians that have been in the league have not got the flowers they deserved. I mean, Raffaelli was one of the best players I've ever seen, one of the best defenders I've ever seen play in the WSL. She's a unicorn, and Gio never really hit the ground running at Arsenal either. So I think that we don't we accidentally underestimate them. We go, yeah, they've got Marta and they've got all these players, but accidentally, purely because of we are not watching this 11 every single week because the NWSL is on such terrible times in the UK, purely because of time zones, that we just accidentally underestimate them a bit. And I think that if it would have stuck with 11v11, that Brazil would have just run through England because they would have picked up momentum, would have kept going, and confidence as well. And when you have a back line as such of England's that, never played together before, looked really disjointed and unsure of themselves, and just didn't really know what to do against such an exciting and creative attack that Brazil naturally have with how they want to play football, that I think it could have easily ended much worse. And also the fact that England's only goal is a penalty, which is also conducive in itself. People are arguing if that's a penalty at all. I think it could have ended much worse, and just because purely for Brazil just could have kept going, and they probably wouldn't have taken their foot off the brakes, really, not off the accelerate. And Carolyn is injured. She missed about a couple weeks, 3 weeks-ish with City. I'm not sure what the injury is, but she is injured, so that's why she wasn't featured. Because otherwise I think she would have started for Brazil, especially with Gio being out. She would have started, but yeah, she's injured, unfortunately.
I think it probably was a penalty. I don't know about that. Mido is taken out there as
it wasn't my opinion. I was just saying that's what people said on the internet.
Oh well, if it was on the
I wasn't my opinion. I was just saying people were arguing that, as well as the cards and everything.
I think, like I say, I didn't mind the ref. I've got to be fair. I think she was all right for what was quite a tough game. Right, well, we are going to change gears slightly and start looking at this one. So Daniel, talking about Jess Fishlock's final international game there. Not going to lie, he says he was tearing up a little bit, or at least I hope he was tearing up and not tearing up, because that would be naughty, Daniel, to be honest. So a bit of a big one there for you, Sean. You alluded to it earlier on, and a tricky one, really, but also a very interesting one. Australia winning 2-1 in the end. Caitlin Ford just nicking it at the end, when maybe a draw would have been at least the scripted part of it, but Caitlin Ford not really caring much for any sort of fairy tale ending. But a good goal for Mara Griffiths as well, a very young striker. Dare I use such words, but was this almost like a passing of the torch?
I asked Rhian Wilkinson this at the press conference, because a lot of people online have been saying, Mara Griffiths, that's a goal like Jess Fishlock. Oh my God, is she the next Jess Fishlock? Let's just halt proceedings there. I think whenever you call a young player and you add the tag of the next so-and-so, especially when they're as iconic as Jess Fishlock has been for Wales, it just adds completely unnecessary pressure. No one's going to fill the shoes of Jess Fishlock, ever. And that includes Mara and any other Wales player that's to come. But Rhian Wilkinson said this as well today, that Mara is on the start of her own journey. And it's really exciting, because I think we can all see there's something there with Mara. I mean, she was playing central midfield, attacking midfield, winger, striker, like everywhere. And this is only a second cap. And she dominated an Australia team that I was completely unimpressed with. I thought they were lacking so much. The game changer was Ellie Carpenter. I thought she came on, did really well. But yeah, no, there will be no... I can understand why people are saying it's passing of a torch, but I think in a way Jess is going to keep that torch forever, to be honest with you.
To be clear, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying at all that she was necessarily going to be the next Jess Fishlock, but obviously, you know, I can't even believe I'm about to do this, but when you go to talk about things like the WWE, they always do it in the wrestling that the person that's leaving, so like John Cena, I think he's leaving the wrestling now from what I understand, see him in TikToks and everything. They will effectively lose a game to somebody in order to sort of push them a little bit and get them over. And what I meant by passing the torch is just that somebody has got to be the new striker for Wales, and it's kind of a nice way for and she's not old by the stretch of the world, but in terms of football, the older person sort of giving the younger generation a chance, really, I suppose, rather more than saying it's going to be the new Jess Fishlock. So yeah, I hope that's kind of explained where I was going with that one. Liberty, you said you saw the game as well, and I saw you nodding when Sean said he wasn't very impressed. They should have been, really, shouldn't they? Quite good. You've got Kyra Cooney-Cross, who was in there, Hayley Raso, Sam Kerr, I believe, back up at the front as well. What did you make of Australia in this game, and why do you think they were not as impressive as they could be?
I think that sometimes it takes a bit long. I think, right, let me restart, because actually I want to restart a different way. I think in international football, because countries get so few time when they get a new head coach to work with that head coach and learn how they want to play football, purely because of how the windows work as such. It's such a short amount of time. It's not the same as club football where you're seeing them every day for 6 weeks at a time. That sometimes there is a sort of delayed new manager bounce as such. It doesn't happen straight away, because it's going to be hard for Joe Montemurro to really establish what he wants this team to look like straight away, because of his time with them is actually quite short. And there is the caveat that he has had some of these players under his coaching before, Carpenter, some others in the A-League, and such. So it's not like a completely new team for him, in the ways that Rhiannon Wilkinson, when she came to Wales, would have been a completely new team. But it is going to take a slightly more time, and I think that's sort of it. It's still a team trying to figure out what he wants from them after being with Tony Gustafsson, who I will talk about when we come to talk about Sweden, because I have issues there as well. But it's just going to take a bit more time, and I think that it's also a team that are trying to bring in new players, and also reinstate older players that they've not had for a long time, like Sam Kerr. And also there is this looming Asian Cup, as it's so beautifully put on the screen, where they are expected to do really well and be in the final four. Let's say that as a benchmark. I'm not going to say in the final because that seems a bit harsh, but they're expected to do really well, especially with how far they got in the Home World Cup and stuff. So I think that there is this sort of looming sense of that, and also, as I said, the slightly less amount of time for Joe to really establish what he wants from this team. That being said, I think that there are players in this team that are they shouldn't not be there at all. But I think that there are some players that need to be considered as not starters, or to just move on a bit. And I think that across both Australia and Sweden, there are some inabilities to move on from what a player has bought before, for me personally. And I think it just needs to sort of just cut some things loose a bit. I don't mean not have them at all, because that's not at all what I mean, but just like, it needs to be freshened up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And you expect that when you get a new head coach, that they're going to freshen up a little bit. But I think that potentially it's not been enough for me for Australia. Who are those players? This is going to sound. I think potentially Gori is past it. I know that her partnership with Kyra has been really good for Australia for since Kyra made her first games for the national team. But I think that there is such a reliance on them as a partnership to start attack that is carried throughout managers now as under Gustafsson as well. That I just think that it needs to happen sooner rather than later. And I get that there is this Asia Cup and they're going to want to go and win it, or to do really well or whatever. But I think that I'm not saying someone like Gori needs to not play at all or not be in the squad. I think that she should still be there, but I don't think she should be a starter. And I think that a criticism of Gustafsson was that he never really pulled from the A-League as much as he should have, because he didn't really understand the A-League. And I think Joe's going to do that more because he is Australian and he's worked in the A-League. He knows what the talent is like there. And I just think that if your only A-League talent is going to be someone like Holly McNamara that you're going to bring off the bench, then maybe we just need to consider other things. And I know that there are certain things. Yes, I know, but it's an interim. It's not really the same. I'm talking just like permanent managers because I think that's the only real point of comparison. Because purely because he knew he was never going to be the permanent manager. Like respectfully, he knew that wasn't going to be his job. So I'm just comparing permanent managers. But yeah, I think that just a little bit of a freshen up in places with younger talent is in my opinion needed. And I wasn't impressed with Australia. They felt quite my romantic head says they knew that it was Jess Fishlock's last game and they wanted Wales to win. But I don't think that actually happens. That's just my wanting to be like, oh, football is lovely brain. But I just think they were just off it and they just weren't good. And I'm just like, but the thing is, going back to the idea of the Asia Cup looming, 3 official friendlies, one including the England game tomorrow night, before the Asia Cup, because the Asia Cup is in February. Well, that's the squad he's got for tomorrow's game, basically discount that. Whoever he brings up in November, where they play New Zealand, then I just think that it just needs a little bit of refreshment sooner rather than later, because else you've shot yourself in the foot before the tournament, personally. Yeah.
Fair points. Emily here saying that she thinks Jerry's too old now, which is exactly what I thought about the Spice Girls, and that's why she left. So there we go. Obviously, she means Gori, but she would appreciate the gag. Sean, just going to throw it back over to you just to complete the whole Wales-Australia thing, because Lucy's broken down the Australia team there, but a lot of this talk was obviously about Jess Fishlock, and rightly so, because she's been a giant of Welsh football. But there's so many other players still within that squad now. So obviously you've got the likes of Hannah Kane, you've got Saf Middleton-Patel in goal, Hayley Ladd, who does an incredible job for Wales as well. Fiona Morgan, you've mentioned Mara Griffiths and Kerry Holland, of course, and Angrad James Turner. You've got lots of players there whose first names I'm very pleased I remembered, because I was only looking at their surnames there on BBC Sports. So that says a lot to me, because if you were to ask me to name many players in the Welsh League at the moment, I'd struggle to do that. But the fact that the Welsh national team is not coming under more scrutiny, but getting more eyes on it and more people knowledgeable about the players that play for them is perhaps the best testament you can give to the people that have really worked to take the Football Association of Wales that bit further than it was just even 15 years ago.
Yeah, and we talked about with England about squad rotation and all that. I need to be more brave. This is Wales' schedule, okay? I've pulled up the world rankings. This is who Wales have played this year. The world number 3 twice, the world number 4, the world number 6, number 11, number 12 twice, number 14 twice, and number 15. Like, for reference, we are, as I scroll all the way down, number 32. It's the toughest run of 10 games any international team's had this year. Hands down. Like, we're punching well above our weight. And, you know, that the world number 3 is Sweden. We got 2 draws against them. One of them was away from home without Jess Fishlock. You know, Rian Wilson is ready to give these young players a chance. You know, the squad at the moment, we've got a lot of players under the age of 26. A lot. You've got a couple over the age of 30. In that middle bubble, you've got Gemma Evans and Kerry Holland, and that's about it. And, you know, in this game against Australia, you know, Gwen Zimmerman is making her debut at centre-back and did really well. You've got Marad, obviously, got the goal, coming off the bench then. Scarlett Hill, first cap. Tiana Taser, first cap. And I will forget someone. I'll have to think of it later. But first caps, 3 first caps. And we've got another 5 or 6 that will probably get a cap against Poland tomorrow night. And you've got to be brave because, but I understand a nation like Wales compared to England, England have got resources. Ireland have got resources. Scotland, France, and go on and on. We don't have that. We are forced to go and find other ways to find young talent. Gwen Zimmerman is one of them, grown up in the US system. But what the Welsh FA do, they'll send an email out to the US system, the Canadian system, English system. If you know of anyone who you think might have Welsh heritage, let us know. And then the research starts. And then you get these players in. You got Mia Ross from Charlton and Annie Wilding from Portsmouth, both coming into the camp for the first time because the FAW have gone out, done their resource, make the first contact. Do you think they can feel well, come into the culture that is so important to this Welsh team? Tick all the boxes, in you come. And this is what the FAW, because we're so small and because we don't have anything compared to the likes of England, USA, France, Spain, whatever, we're forced to do things differently. And this is the way we do it. And we've punched well above our weight, but we're on the cusp of getting a result against a big team because we have not beaten a team in the top 20 of the FIFA rankings ever. So the fact we've played 10 games against teams in the top 15 is quite ridiculous. But, you know, the performance on Saturday was really good. I was really pleased with it, especially with the Euros was... Oh, Adam, you're not gonna bait me tonight, Adam. I refuse. The Euros was, I describe when people ask me how were the Euros, Sean? How was Wales' first Euros? It was a lovely time ruined by football because the results were quite horrific, and it was difficult to see a Wales performance by a Welsh team. But that performance, when we're missing 6 players who started in the Euros as well, and we have to play these youngsters. I thought we matched Australia really well. Probably unlucky not to get something from that game. But this comes back to giving Welsh players a chance, giving young Welsh players a chance. And I can see a bright future. You know, I don't think you could say that about Scotland. I think when Ireland lose a couple, I don't know about their bright future. Northern Ireland as well. But I know I can see a future with this Welsh team. And that's what it is. And, you know, we're getting there slowly because even the women's football ban wasn't lifted until the 90s in Wales, you know. The Welsh team didn't exist until 1993. England had a team in the set. You know, we're feasibly 20 years behind the other home nations, so to speak. So we're getting there slowly. And I was quite pleased with what I've seen, not only on Saturday, but I've seen across the last couple of years.
To be fair, that is the only way to do things in Wales, and that is slowly, because you don't believe in putting like tunnels through hills, do you? So everybody has to travel around it. So it probably takes about 6 hours longer to get to places. A bit like Scotland with their locks. It's very frustrating.
Hey now. There's nothing wrong. Look, I haven't had a dig at England. I've just called you rubbish. That's it. And now all of a sudden we'll attack your hills.
I
Or
just
you'll be on
agree
about
with you.
shit next, won't you?
I
Or
just
now we'll
agree
get the
with you.
daffodil. Oh, Gavin and Stacey's crap as well, mind. Yeah.
I never said that. Never said a word.
Go to Trebuchet's question about Rhian Wilkeston being poached as a manager from another national team. The only one I think she'd ever consider joining, because she is part Welsh. She was born here, grew up here. Canada. Canada's the only one she'd contemplate going to, because she has 183 caps for Canada and loves Canada. She won't go to another national team. I can guarantee you that, because she feels a connection with Wales. And I don't think she wants to do club management again. I think with Portland, and she spent so much time with national teams, everything, even Team GB. She was with Canada for a long time, in the England setup for a little bit as well. I think she was, only if Canada ever came calling, that's the only one I can see.
Fair enough. Apparently there's a place called the Bringlass Tunnels.
Yeah, it's a lovely set of tunnels down by Newport.
Is that where Uncle Bryn was named from, and Gavin and Stacey?
Oh, no. Bryn's a very popular word. Bryn's a very popular name here.
Just checking. Don't take it so personally, just saying.
I get defensive about my nation and my language, Barry.
It takes a while to get to places. I went to Scotland, land of my grandfather, and we were travelling back to our cottage, and they decided to do some roadworks. And those roadworks meant that rather than just travelling the 20 minutes it would have taken, I had to take an hour detour around the lock to get there. That's all I'm saying, is that, there's just not a lot of roads.
This is the man, by the way, who the M25 is in your country. That's a haven, isn't it?
I mean, that's a car park, to be fair.
The M1. Oh, no traffic on the M1 or the M25. Get there in a doddle. Oh, yeah, but because we have an A road. Oh,
go on, Liberty, throw it in.
I would just like to say that I actually have beef with the M25, and it's the worst road ever invented, because why is it just a circle? Because I live on one part of the M25 and I went to university halfway around it. And after my first year, detour in conversation, when I moved out of my first year accommodation, we were driving back to Essex, where I live, from Surrey, where I went to university. And it should take 2 hours from start to finish. We were stuck solely on the M25 for 3 hours because of they decided that driving was I don't know what had happened. So it took us 6 hours, and the car was full to the brim with all of my belongings from first year, and it was awful. So I actually hate the M25. And why is it circle? Who decided this?
Number one, you'll not find a single English person defending the M25. Literally all of us think it's pants, not to mention the fact you've got to pay £3 to go across the bridge. Even the Welsh have got rid of that now. That ability to get across. Well, you have. I hate paying for bridges. I'd rather drive around it. But anyway, my point is the same. And it is awesome. I've been to Rhyl. I've been to Prestatyn. I've been up Pen y Fan.
Sorry.
What, are you going to tell me that's not in Wales now?
No. And I respect it, but the fact you kick off that with Rhyl. Rhyl's the most voted, the dodgiest and most dangerous area in Wales. And I've been to a nice place in Wales, and you go off with Rhyl.
It was all right.
I
didn't have any. It was really nice.
Rhyl is ridiculous. Oh,
unbelievable.
What a quote. Oh,
I've been to Swansea, I've been to Wrexham, lots of places. Right. Anywho, my goodness.
Just very quickly,
like to have a little go at this?
I loved it. Look, I'm a fluent Welsh speaker, and I find anyone trying to speak or trying to learn the language, I just love it. The fact that you even tried it, some of them, no. Any team that want to join in our culture, want to try and show a bit of an interest, I've got absolutely no problem with. And speaking to many a couple of Australian players, staff members over the course of the week, they are all lovely and really enjoyed their time with us and really didn't particularly want to go to England. And I can't blame them, Barry.
There you go. I feel like I've been told off here, and I genuinely love the place. But there we go. Anywho, we shall move on. And it is now time to say to any viewers that are jumping on at this point, and I'm going to try my very best. Buenas noches, guten Abend, bonsoir, and good afton, because it is time to talk about the Nations League. And we're going to start off, if you haven't seen it, there is a poll in the YouTube, I'm getting so old. Who calls it the YouTube? In YouTube, on YouTube, there's a poll just there on the side. And you can choose who you think is going to win the Nations League. To be fair, it's very close. Very, very close indeed at this moment in time. So all votes count, but do get yourself in there. But I mean, I think I would be very good on Eurovision. It's like full of cheesy jokes. But there we go. So yeah, we'll kick off with the Spain one, just purely because it was the biggest win, 4-0. Liberty, we'll throw it over to you for this one. Surprised? I mean, Sweden have been doing all right, really, when it comes to European competitions as of late, but Spain just dominant again.
Yep. 4 is just insult to injury. However, my issues with this game stem from the 11 that Tony Gustafsson put out. Had 2 changes from the England game that Sweden lost on penalties in the Euros. One of them is forced through injury. Amanda Ilestedt comes in for Magdalena Eriksson, who had to pull out with injury. And the other one is Johanna Andersson wasn't in the squad, and Anna Sandberg is brought in because she wasn't in the Euro squad. She's been really excellent for United, so she rightfully reclaims her starting position for Sweden. That is the 2 changes from the entire 11. 2, and they are both the same side of the defence. 2. And now this isn't a diss, right? Also, that is that. 2 changes. Not a single attacking change. Not a single attacking change. You've got the formation is different. I will give him that, because instead of a 4-2-3-1, it is a 4-4-2, and the 2 up top are Stina Blackstenius, who doesn't play that much for England. Apologies for Arsenal, and Kosovo Aslani, who plays every minute for London City. That is your 2 up top. And then it is basically try and be as compact as possible to not let Spain get past. The first thing Spain do get past immediately. You have to give him some grace, because your first game in charge of a new country, being Spain, is like actually what they torture people with in hell. That is awful. I feel bad for the guy, but it was terrible. It was terrible. My issues with Sweden come from similar what I was saying with him not calling up I nearly said it again. A-League players when he was in charge of Australia. He is reluctant to call on. This is going to sound counterintuitive, because I'm about to say that he called up 2, 3. Apologies. 4. I just remember the 4th. Anyway, he seems reluctant to rely on youth players more from the beginning. And I mean that as in Felicia Skruder comes off in the 70-something minute for Stina Blackstenius, and Monica Tony, please correct my pronunciation of the surname, because I do think I'm getting it wrong. But my English brain says Jasubar. I don't think that's correct. Please correct that. But anyway, both do come on the pitch, which are I'm so happy both of them are in the squad. They've had really good seasons in the Damallsvenskan. Why didn't they start? I'm really sorry. I know Thank you, Yusubar. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate as ever your help with my pronunciations. I understand that both of them are coming back into this team, and yes, you want someone like Aslani starting or Blackstenius, but I don't understand why there isn't this want for a refresh in a squad when you come into a new squad. Tony Gustafsson, this is his first game in charge. This is his first camp. And yes, Spain are really, really hard. And I do feel bad for him that you've got Spain back to back as your first 2 games. But the entire 23-player squad that he has chosen is basically the same as the Euros and every other 23-man squad that Gradson had called up for basically the last 2 years. With the addition of like Musovic when she obviously wasn't out of football, or Sandberg and things like this. I understand that, Tony, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I really am. But let me just finish my thought. What was I saying? I just think that you have to be a bit more ruthless and cut people off straight away. And I think we'll talk about France in a minute, but the France manager, whose name is escaping me at this time, got criticism when they came in because they immediately said, no Renard, no Le Sommer, we're starting a clean slate. And they got slack for that. And I don't necessarily think it was a bad thing. I'm really sorry, but some players are old. That is a universal truth. And just because Jess Fishlock plays until she's 38, because she's Jess Fishlock, doesn't mean every player... Thank you very much, Barry, for putting that in the chat. Just because Jess Fishlock can play at an incredibly high level until she's 38 doesn't mean everyone can. Why is Linda Sembrant still getting called up? Why? It's not because she's a good squad player, because you've got better centre-backs, young centre-backs that could be called up in her place. I'm really sorry. I get that she has been an excellent servant for Sweden, and she was good in her heyday. I'm sorry. Why? Why is Bella Anderson not being called up? I get she's not there in a playing role, but what is the point of her being there at all? I'm sorry, you've got a 23-man squad. You've got 23 players. What is the point in not being there if you're not going to play? When you have Bella Anderson, who is doing, when she gets time at Real Madrid, doing really well. And before she went to Real Madrid, was doing really well for Hammarby. What is the point? Or even if Bella Anderson, because she's not getting minutes at Real Madrid as consistently as you'd like, if that is your issue, why isn't somebody who is 8 years younger than Linda Sembrant getting called up? Why is Alice Carlson not being called up? Why are other players that are playing in the Damallsvenskan, who are playing really well consistently, not being called up? Because the beauty of... Okay, well, I didn't watch the U23, so like I'm not going to make a comment on that. Anyways, the beauty of smaller leagues, I hate that term personally, but the beauty of smaller leagues is that there are players in those who you can call up. They exist. And I think that at points there are managers on the international stage who are scared of using said smaller leagues to bolster their squads, when those players are actually playing better than players in big leagues and stuff. Why in Sweden starting 11 the 2 youngest players, the fullbacks? Not a single creative player, the 2 fullbacks. And if you're going to tell me that fullbacks in modern football are creative players, I'm not listening. I think that it's an issue I've had with Norway. I have it with Sweden. Why are we not using more players in smaller leagues, once again, who will do a better job than players that you've got on the pitch? I'm sorry. I've Ilestedt, I've appreciated what she's done since she's gone to Eintracht Frankfurt. I think she's doing really well there. However, it gets to a point where you have to go, what is the point in calling up players like Sembrant, like Ilestedt, like Aslani, like I would go as far. I think it's harsh to say Rolfer, but that is sort of where the next place my brain went. I think that's harsh on her, actually. But so I'm actually going to take that out. But anyway, what is the point when you can have players that you can breed in to your new look of a country from the get-go, instead of calling up players that you are not going to have there as a playing role? It's not like there needs to be a bridge between Gustafsson and the players. You are Swedish. You understand how football works in Sweden. You've played. You've coached. You've coached teams in club football that've had some of these players in. You know, Sweden did this whole thing about Litten Kannerid talking about how she played under Gustafsson when she was 16. It is not okay, but actually the whole point of this show is that I can express my opinion, and that's what I'm saying. Thanks, Tony.
To be fair, if there was a bridge between them, it might cost £3 to get across it. So it's probably best we don't have a bridge. I thought we'd crossed that bit already. Anywho, Mr. Sean, I'm going to ask you a little question with regards to Spain, because the 2 goals that were scored by Putellas and Pina. And I'm just intrigued as to what you think of Pina. We speak a lot about Putellas, and some might argue she's the Jess Fishlock of Spain in that respect. But talk to me a little bit about Claudia Pina, because she certainly seems to be coming into her own this year.
Alexia Putellas wishes she could lace the boots of Jess Fishlock just to get that out the way there, first of all. I think even before Pina had this sort of explosion in the past year and a half, she's such a good player. Just the technical ability. I don't think there's anything she can't do. It's just that in tight spaces, there's centre of gravity's there with her. The fact she can play out on the wing, she can play centrally. She's a nightmare. And she's one of those where if I know she's playing, I will actually make an effort to try and watch. I think she's one of those players that can excite. You know, you get those certain players when they're on the ball, everyone on the team just inches forward a little bit, sort of expecting something special might happen. And I do get that feeling with Pina when she plays. And no, a really good win for Spain. And can't say we're surprised, really.
Absolutely that. So there we go. So we're getting a little bit angry. Let's all just calm ourselves down a bit. It's all for women's football, as we said, and therefore everybody gets the opportunity to have their say. So there we go. What will happen with Sweden will happen with Sweden. And what will happen with Spain will certainly happen with Spain as well. But there was a game that was much, much, much tighter, Sean, and that was, of course, Germany against France. I think we can all say that Spain are going to make it to the final, almost without question. But we know that Germany against France is a much tighter one, and with that game coming up as well, it was a late goal from Clara Buell. It'll be very interesting to see how those two get on. Do you think it will be Germany joining Germany joining Spain, or will it be France? Now, I do have to say, just before you mention this, it's very rare that this ever happens, but on Twitter today, we received a rather threatening message, one that I'm going to put out here for everybody to see. It blew my mind, actually. So here it is. If we say anything bad about our players, this is a German fan, we will turn you into Burger. Say we will win UWNL. We will watch all. So be careful. Now, on this channel, threatening to turn us into a burger is a very scary thing, because we all know how Connor likes to eat his burgers. And therefore, none of us want to be eaten with a knife and fork. So with that in mind, Germany to win the Nations League, obviously.
Well, with that sort of threat hanging over us, looming over us, I will be careful what I say. You know, you've got teams have a bogey team where you can't really do anything about them. Like Brighton men, we can't get past Fulham, for example. West Ham men can't get past Brighton, for example. France just can't get past Germany. That's all it is. You can put whatever quality French team you have out, but Germany just always find a way. And, you know, this German team is missing Berger in goal, no Oberdorf. I know, it's there again. But no, this is what I'm saying. These big players are not there, and yet I think it's such a credit to the management they've got going down there that whoever comes drafted in knows what role to play, and they all link with each other quite well, and they just find ways to win. I think that says more about the culture that's ingrained in this German team over the years, more than anything else. And France is France. You know, it's always a bit of controversy, always a bit of chaos. And yeah, I just think it's still very much in the balance. And I think France at home is a very different beast to France away from home. So it wouldn't be surprised me if they turn this around. But I just want to credit Germany for, even without having big players, they just find ways to win. I credit that to the culture and the management that's set them there.
No, absolutely fair point. Liberty, for you as well, with regards to Germany and France. I think we were all expecting Germany to do incredibly well in the Euros in the middle of the year, and they didn't quite get to the rounds that I think most of us thought that they would do. France were reasonably good also. It was always going to be the tie for the two games. Again, who do you think is coming through? And if they do get there, have they really got a chance against Spain?
Well, I was going to say something and then just didn't. I was going for dramatic and then it didn't work. Because I did it too long. Sorry. Start again. Could if Germany get to the final, do it against Spain? Well, I always think back to the most recent matchup between the two teams that you're talking about in a situation like this. And it took Spain that quite incredible Bonmati goal to get past Germany in the semi-finals of the Euros. So why not? We'll go back to last week and my opinion of why not on that one. The goal itself from Germany was lovely. The pass from oh my goodness, Nusken. There we go. I'm having a terrible time with words today. Nusken has been criticised by some for not being able to break lines and stuff, which I find really silly because one, it's not something that necessarily needs to happen too often at Chelsea. So when you're seeing it that regularly to make such a statement, but it's exactly what she does here. It's a beautiful pass, and then it's a beautiful goal in transition. And sometimes all you need is one goal to win a game. That's football. So from that point of view, beautiful football from Germany, and showing how, even though they're once again going to be out, not have Oberdorf for another 9 months after she's re-torn her ACL. I'm heartbroken for her. I don't think have we had a show since they announced that? I can't remember. Anyway, if we haven't, I'm heartbroken for her. We all wish her the best, sending all our love. That they still have talent in the entire setup for Germany that can do the job. Because a lot of the narrative coming out of the World Cup in 22 was that this team was going to be built around Oberdorf going forward, and sometimes when that player is then out for a while, that in this case it's going to be 2 years basically without her, that then you start to question if this team is actually going to be able to build anything without her. And I'm glad that they are doing that with what they've got in midfield, and also they've got other players in the U23s and further down that will be looking to also have a say in the senior team. So I like that. And I think it was a good start to this sort of next block for Germany after quite a gutting end to their Euros campaign and such a tumultuous Euros campaign. Gwyn going down in the first game, then the 2 games playing with 10 men after 2 red cards in quite silly fashion. I agree with that you've just put on the screen, Barry. It's already gone, but I agree. I think Kat has done really well. I think she's a very talented young player, and I think that for both club and country, she has done very, very well. And I'm glad that young players like her are being introduced into the German setup. And I wish other countries would follow suit. And that's it.
Okay, fair play. You were going to talk about Group A as well. So there's a little bit of a promotion sort of playoff for the Group A's there. You've got about 90 seconds to round up what's going on there.
Yeah, I love promotion games. 4 of them. So League B teams trying to get into League A. Czechia beating Austria 1-0. I think got injuries just hurting Austria at the worst possible time, with the likes of Zadbrazil, Zinsberger and Herbinger not playing. I think that's a really good result for the Czechs. I'm interested to see what they can do in Austria tomorrow night. Northern Ireland 0, Iceland 2. I think it was always going to be an uphill battle for Northern Ireland against an Iceland team I do really like. I still think Iceland are a really solid outfit, and we didn't see much of that in the Euros, but hopefully they can get back to that. Finland 1, Denmark 6. You get rid of Jäglert, and suddenly you have a competent attacking team. Brilliant result for the Danes. Really like the formation. I'll come to you in a little bit after I wrap up my 90 seconds. Finland, I thought Finland were really good.
A bit longer, Sean. You take as long as you need. So,
we're getting there. I've rattled through these. I was really disappointed with Finland. I thought they looked really positive at the Euros, and Denmark didn't. So it's a bit of a shame for Finland not to get that. And then Ireland 4, Belgium 2. I don't like Ireland, and I don't like Katie McCabe. I thought the way they treated themselves and handled themselves in that Wales playoffs was, what's the word? Disgusting. But fair play. I didn't think they'd have it in them to beat Belgium, because after Wales beat them to reach the Euro 2025, Ireland weren't there. I'm not sure if anyone noticed. That was a really good win for them against a Belgian team I do really think have the abilities and capabilities to upset a few of the big sides. They beat England. They went close against Spain. Like, this is a good Belgium team. I'm really intrigued to see if Ireland can do it away from home, because I think they have put in a few dodgy performances under Carla Ward when they're away from Ireland. But I have to credit them, because I really didn't think Ireland were capable of getting a result like that against a team like Belgium. So really interested to see how all those second legs go tomorrow.
No, for sure. Very, very good. Well done for that. Perhaps you could just explain for the we will come back to you on it, Liberty, but I just wanted to just finish off with what's the purpose of the Group A playoff? So how has that come about? How did the playoff teams get into the playoffs? What did they have to do?
Okay, so if you finish bottom of your League A group, you automatically get relegated to League B. No questions asked. That's where you go. That's what happened to Wales. It's what's happened to Scotland. It's what's happened to Portugal. And it's what's happened to Switzerland, who got relegated from League A last year. And if you win your League B group, you replace those teams. So 1 up, 1 down there. But if you finish 3rd in your League A group and you finish 2nd in your League B group, you have a playoff, a 2-legged playoff. Whoever wins that, if the League A team wins, they stay in League A. They retain their status for the next campaign. If the League B team wins, they replace them in the Nations League. So you'd probably say Denmark and Iceland are going to stay in League A, but Belgium and Austria could be losing their places in League A. So keep things fresh, keep things interesting, and we need more of those League B teams making a step up into League A. So it's really good to see overall.
Very interesting. Liberty, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I just 20 seconds, I just wanted to say on Denmark, great that they had both Simone Boy and Stine Larsen back from their respective pregnancies. First time back for both of them, I believe. Definitely Simone's for her first time back. I do also believe the same is the case for Stine. Great that we are in a place in women's football where this is a possibility, and it isn't, deciding if you want to have a family or you want to play football. You can do both. And great for Denmark to have them both back. Wish them both great success. Obviously, to players from Damallsvenskan up at the top of the table. Larsen plays for BK Häcken, and obviously Boye is at Hammarby. So, just wanted to mention that. Great to have them both back for Denmark.
The very same Portugal that beat USA. Football is indeed an incredibly weird sport. And no, I don't think it's a concern. The man loves international football in the same way that I love pizza. So all is well there. Not a problem at all. And again, that's why we got him to mention it, because I knew there would be some people that weren't entirely sure why these games existed. So there we go. That is the international part almost over. We finished the poll. I can confirm, and it will probably come as a surprise to absolutely nobody, but these were the results. So France got 0 points, no votes whatsoever. Sweden and Germany both level with 7%, which I get the feeling means one person voted for each. But Spain on 86%, absolutely bossing it. One-word answers. Do you agree, really? Is it going to be Spain winning the Nations League this year? Both not imperfect. That works there. So there we go. That is the Nations League. Oh, Tony voted for Spain. I thought you might have gone for a little home field advantage, even though you knew you were out. But no, good to see you voting with your head and not your heart. So speaking of head and heart, the FA Cup draw took place 3 hours ago-ish. We're going to cover this a lot more on Wednesday, hopefully, when we do a Lower League Lingo show. But obviously, it has been drawn, and the Adobe stream, if you watched that one, I couldn't hang on to it for long because it was the world's loudest siren, effectively, that was going off there. So we moved over to the TNT one, and we did manage to see the whole draw. So you can either watch it without sound on Adobe a little bit quicker than the TNT one, or not at all. So there we go. That was quite entertaining. But big draws been taken, and some pretty big games. I just wanted to ask the pair of you, really, if there were any games that stood out for you. I had a couple of personal favourites. It's going to be interesting to see how Leyton Orient get on against Bournemouth, with them being a Tier 7 side, definitely on the up. And if it were me choosing the televisual treat, I would be giving Pontyland United against Altrincham a go, purely because it's their first time ever in the second round. What are the fixtures? I could tell you them all, but we'll be here sometime. Look, they're all there. That took me a while to write them all down whilst they were going on. You will see them just about anywhere online if you search for them, or you can watch our show on Wednesday and find out a bit more about them. But Sean, Liberty, FA Cup, anything amazing for you?
Yeah, I obviously Gwalior United. I like Gwalior United. They're a club from Wales. Tough old outing against Plymouth. I think Plymouth are another team on the up. That Leyton Orient thing, by the way, there's a brilliant piece in The Athletic and New York Times written by Megan Feringa, just about them and the fact there's a former US international player currently playing for Orient in Tier 7, which is unbelievable. Oxford City, Swindon, I like a derby. That's the Swindon lot, all big for it. And then, final one from it, Huddersfield Leeds. Huddersfield Leeds, it's a big game. They don't like each other at any level. So, some really nice derby games there.
My choice is Cheltenham versus Lewis, because that is they sit next to each other as it stands currently in the FA Women's National League. So, and they also play each other in 2 games time. Two games times, yeah. So they're going to play each other in the league before the FA Cup game, I think, which is also very interesting. And yeah, purely for how expansive the FA Cup is at, even at this level, how far down the pyramid it could go, to have 2 teams right next door to each other in their own league is just interesting to me. And there should be a really good game in that. I have a soft spot for Lewis, so obviously I hope they win, but that is my pick because I think either side of the same what? Anyway, they're next to each other in the table as it stands right now. That's interesting.
Absolutely, and there's some long drives as well here. Adam talking about Exeter against Chatham is his pick, former local side against current local side, and you'll know exactly what I mean then with that one. Exeter and Chatham, a huge drive. Bridgewater United also playing Royston. That's going to be quite a big drive for them. Middlesbrough have got Northampton Town, so big drive for Northampton. And there was another one.
Burnley Norwich.
Burnley Norwich is quite a long ride as well. Yes, it was the Wroxham one I was looking for. They've got to go up to York, which isn't terrible. It's just straight up the A1, sorry. But yeah, that would be quite a trek, I've got to say. And Emily, very nice of you to say so. Honestly, I came out of that game just so proud of Stevenage, because we had more fans in the stands than we generally tend to get. There was a camera there, which again we're not used to have in the media department. Actually had to do some work. We did, which was quite entertaining. And the girl was just absolutely brilliant. You know, it went 1-0, we went 2-1 up, 3-2 down, leveled it up to 3-3 with 10 minutes to go, 7 minutes added on, even though I'm sure the ref only said 5. It went on a little bit longer. I'm sure he did. I've looked it back on the video. He holds up 5 fingers, and the last time I counted, that was 5. But we ended up on 7. And you know what? It was an unlucky one. It was a great volley, but off the bar and hits the goalie on the head and goes in. So yes, it was a little bit of a sad one. But listen, Norwich were brilliant as well. It was a superb game and an excellent advert for women's football. So hopefully those highlights will get out there somewhere soon. And that was going to be my final question on this, because there's a lot of talk about there being more coverage of the FA Cup this season. And we obviously had Middlesbrough against Cheadle on TNT on the Saturday, but I can't find any highlights anywhere. I thought there was going to be potentially a little bit more, but all we got was a couple of dodgy iPhone videos of the draw from some people behind the goal. Have you, in your infinite wisdom, seen any places whereby we could see the highlights of FA Cup first round matches?
No, and again, we talk about the big gains in women's football, but it's things like this should be growing the game, and it's still not there. So, unfortunately, not. Sadly, I can't say I'm surprised by it.
It's like the Europa Cup of domestic football. Liberty, your hand was up.
I'm just fact checking myself before I say something. Yes, you can see the Lewis goals that Lewis have posted, but that's it, as far as I can see.
This is what I mean. It's coming down to clubs still to do what they would normally do.
Lewis are owned by the fans, and so people that are part of the ownership have access to watch their games because they pay money to the club so they can watch the games. And I believe it's because of that, then they have the ability to then clip up the goals and post them on Twitter, because they've added the company that do that for them in the tweet. But I think that's only That's the only one I've seen, and that's it. And it's just the 4 goals, individual clips, and that's it though.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, again, Sipaway saying were they even televised? And well, one was. Obviously, there's one per round that was going on. I don't know what they're going to pick for round 2, but we had a camera. Like I said, it turned up, it recorded, it was there. Then he disappeared, and so that footage is out there somewhere, recording the whole thing. And no, not all clubs do, of course not. But I agree with Adam here. Lack of footage of early rounds of the Women's FA Cup as a problem has existed since the dawn of time. And I agree. But again, like I say, it's just this idea that they've put a camera there. What's the point? And again, without wanting to sound at all biased, it was a hell of a game. It's the sort of game that if you put that onto the telly box somewhere for the highlights, people are going to watch that and be very, very taken, I think, by how good football can be and also how cruel at the same time. So superb stuff there. Well done, everybody. Liberty, if people wanted to hear more about your insane ramblings about bringing young people into women's football rather than allowing the dinosaurs to play, whereabouts could they find that? No Jurassic Park for Liberty.
No Jurassic Park for Liberty, because what's the point? Everything is my name. And actually, I would like to say something really quickly. A current NWSL player in the last 24 hours has posted absolute, I'm going to say it how it is, racism and transphobia on Twitter in the name of protecting the NWSL. When all she really wants to do is spread transphobia and racism. And I think that it's disgusting. I have put a tweet out because I don't believe in staying silent in these things. But I wanted to say it here because I think it's important. She is a current NWSL player, albeit she's played 40 minutes all season, and her season finishes next weekend because her club will not be playing the playoffs. That's besides the point. It is disgusting, and I hope that both her club and the league at large put out a statement sooner rather than later, and that they protect the players that she is so clearly trying to incite hatred into, because it is very clear who she's trying to do it against. In the name of protecting women and protecting women's sports, you are doing nothing but being a transphobe and a racist, and you have no place in our sport.
Okay. Well, I've got no idea what that's about, so I am going to have to go and have a little look at what you are talking about there. But again, Liberty Simons, if you would like to see what she has retweeted and spoken about, that is the place to be. But you are getting some support. So there we go. Sean, whereabouts could people find more of you on the search for Jess Fishlock Idol?
Well, nowhere, because she's gone, so I can't really talk about her much for the national team. But you can follow me on Twitter and on TikTok at Sean Misra. I'll be at Wales, Poland tomorrow. Liberty and I are officially not friends for the next couple of hours. But yeah, I'll be live reporting from there. Other stuff from TikTok, and us on Sipaway's any other podcast. I appear on the Alternative Wales podcast with a host of various different guests. So that's another place where you can find. But thank you, Barry, as always, for tonight. And I second everything Liberty said.
Lovely. I'm going to go and work out where we go. So we've got the name of the person there. I'm going to go and have a look. But absolutely, if there is racism and transphobia being put anywhere, there is absolutely no need for it. Just let people live. Why do we need to be quite so drastic all the time? We're all ending up in the same place, aren't we? So, let's just enjoy it while we can, people. What is wrong with you? So it just remains for me to say au revoir. Adios. Adia Aya. And, of course, Auf Wiedersehen. Thank you very much. We'll see you all, hopefully, on Wednesday. Night all.